Hmm. So do we think these are citizens contractors or somebody else?
That big orange cube that run there around, and they create a wire.
Yeah, that's Citizens Project. Yeah.
They're a contractor.
Yeah, but it's their contractors.
No, no. Yeah.
Do we ever had contractors that need to be made to clean the mess?
Okay.
I've got people complaining about how they messed in the yard.
I appreciate that. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, we'll do that. We will do that.
While you're on that.
Uh-huh.
This person's gonna be under part of the recreation. Does that mean that we can see a reduction possibly in the field work line item in recreation?
Hmm.
I mean,
Yeah.
I understand that, you know, we've got two people, I know there's a lot going on. But if we're adding this staff person at part-time, between the three of them, it looks to me like most of the field work can be done in-house instead of contracting out.
That's what I believe.
Yeah.
That's what
Well,
I
and
said.
since we're starting to acquire some more equipment, you know, that was part of the hurdle before. So yeah, we'll circle back on that a little bit. Yeah.
We already accommodated it. The request was originally for 32,000, and at right now we put 25,000, which is actually the same as 23 and less than 22. So it may be, just even a little bit more. That's something to look at.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's not our role to micromanage, but the bottom line is you got three people out there, and yeah, there's stuff to do.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in recreation. I know
Mm-hmm.
somebody can be out there mowing,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and it's
And somebody could be out there breaking in field and
Mm-hmm.
that's.
Yeah. I think
And if you've got three people, if they jump on it, it's not gonna take it long.
and they set aside a day. If it rains, they got a rain date, and every week they do it.
yeah. I think yeah, so we will work on that and put a star next to that one. In addition to that, a separate conversation, but something I didn't write down, also has to do probably with having a conversation with the schools, particularly as they have a new superintendent, about what their plans are about maintaining the elementary school fields.
Do we have a new superintendent yet?
Well, whenever they will,
Yeah,
right? They will.
I got you.
But that's
That's the way you
something that
said
I
it.
think might be part of that discussion as well, if y'all are game.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. That was a little ticklish when I wrote it, so I didn't.
It's always, I appreciate Jerry your comment because it's always, especially when you develop a new department and then things start being added and we've got to watch, it's- yeah,
Yeah, sure.
and even if I'd rather have less than more in a sense so that we don't, if we're hiring this new other person, then I think we could probably cut a lawnmower service.
Or it's a field for
Mhm.
field. The situation with coaches, that used to, if you were a coach, part of your responsibility was the coaches got there before the game, checked it out, if there was anything needed that wasn't done, they did it.
Yeah.
But apparently that's not the way it is.
Yeah. It's a different
Other-
time.
Some other problems,
Right.
that situation too. We need to emphasize for the coaches meeting, even if we're still that this program is kids. And a safe, fun, activity. Number one, that's what it was created for. And it, sometimes the emphasis gets put on other things, more so than if you shut up before I say something.
Yeah.
You have your Zoom call?
Well, they were just gonna text me if they
Okay.
need me to come, but if I pop up, thank you for the reminder though. I appreciate that.
But anyway, I think all of us at the time, I know y'all wasn't here, knew that, taking on the rec department was gonna increase our expenses.
Mhm.
But I don't know that anybody realized how far it's gone. It's either, I knew it was gonna go up, but it's exceeded what I expected.
Yep.
Maybe y'all expected these numbers, but. And so
This is something to look at.
it's reined in a little.
Mhm. I understand.
Could be about $3,900 a year.
Pardon me?
3,000
Say that?
for mowing services. It costs $300, about $330 a month, which is $3,960 a year. But not even that much because they're not mowing in probably 3 months. So
Yeah, we did, go out for,
2,900.
yeah, we did go out because, we have been using the same company. And of course, we went out to bid, and didn't get a lot of response, but I did have Jenny go ahead and call another company that had talked to me. So to the extent we still do any of that hired out, we have some choices now.
Real good.
So, and then, okay, and then just the other items, and again, I've gone through this with you all before, but just to remind you on page 6, we have comprehensive plan development, and we're trying our best to keep that number down. So, and I will tell you, Kevin Bird and Eli have been really helpful. So, we're able to basically only pay half as much as it would cost because they're able to use a grant from ARC to cover half of it. And then we're also kind of folding in with Virginia Tech, which means some of the survey work they're going to be able to do at least the first round, and because they have the Ultras. Yeah. So that saves us some money as well. And then yes, and there'll be probably multiple surveys. There'll be something that comes there from Extension, specifically related to their programming, but then we'll also have some additional follow-up kind of things. And then I think we've been talking about, of course, making paper copies available, but also having it just one of the QR codes that people could go ahead and just pick it up on their phone or whatever. Yeah, so we could do that and save a little bit of money there too. It's 20.
That way tracking, make sure the person doesn't do multiple surveys.
Yeah, that's part of how we can track it. And then, but if people really want to get engaged in it, one of the tools that the regional commission brings to us has an opportunity for essentially a blog that centers around particular topics. So, but it can be moderated, and we can also turn some comments off.
So when do we know if we get the ARC grant?
No, they already have the ARC
Oh, okay,
grant.
great.
Yeah,
Okay.
they already have the ARC grant. Yeah, they already have it in hand, and Eli's already sent us, it's 21,000 this year, 21,000 next year.
First,
Mhm.
excellent.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
yeah, they're paying for
Well, I
half
like
of it.
it.
Yep. Yeah, they'll pay for about half, that's exactly what I was doing. So, and again, we've been kind of playing on the edges on this, but to get together the capital and equipment improvement plan, and yes, I know we need to have a meeting, so I hope you. We're just doing elections this week, so then we'll do that. And then, of course, built in here is the discussion about the building, and so Joe and I are Steve going to have our meeting this afternoon. So, then we talked about the finance and investment policy. You guys already took action about that. And I've reached out to Mr. Rose and to Kyle and let them know that we wanted to move forward with the RFP for the building, and we're going to do something else later related to financial stuff. We have several RFPs that I need to get ready to send out. And I mentioned the real estate reappraisal already, and then of course the the encouragement to invest some in your rainy day fund, because it's looking a little stormy on the horizon. And with that, that's kind of some of the high level drivers. And then if you wanted to kind of have Kim walk through kind of department by department. I will tell you the one other thing that was important to Kim and I to put in here is Lisa Baker has been over and led the case very, very professionally about how much her staff gets paid and how that compares to how other staff gets paid. And so there is a little bump in there for Lisa's folks. There is as I was kind of alluding to earlier, you all supplement you have to supplement 15% anyway for the Commonwealth, any of the funds that are reimbursed through COIN. But some offices have been touched more than others. I think that's how I could say it. And so, and and Lisa rightly points out that, well, everybody's job is important. These are the folks that are helping generate funds for us. So it'd be nice if they could get paid more equally with other folks that do similar jobs. So with that, and if you'd like, Mr. Chairman, turn it over to you.
Stabilization money, that works just like with the contingency. That money stays in the interest bearing account, and then it draw down as needed.
Yes.
I
Yes.
just wanted to make sure I was.
Yes. Yeah, it would. So it's basically just almost like an earmarking. We're setting this away.
So like, if I may, last year, I think the budget stabilization, I think we budgeted like 20,500. So that still remained, hasn't changed. The addition that you see this year is, includes that.
I think the only other change that we've recommended related to your budget process is you will note when we talk about the dates, we put in there that for purposes of publishing, we're using the Roanoke Times. We will publish in the Floyd Press, but we're not counting on that because both the years I've done this, I've messed it up, and it's really put you all in a bind.
It's painful.
Yep.
So this way you can, while we want folks in Floyd to know, if something gets messed up in the Roanoke Times, they can fix it the next day. You don't have to wait another week. That's right.
It costs us
The waiting period that, we do increase the tax rate after the public hearing. Does that same wait period apply if you're doing other fee structure as well?
I'm not sure. I'll look into it.
Something like that, just to make sure we don't.
Yes. And as I didn't put any increases, we didn't recommend any increases, but I would note you haven't addressed your TOTS rate, and sometimes your transient occupancy tax. Montgomery County and others have gone to 40 cents on cigarette tax. And granted, that won't generate that much because most of the places in the county to buy cigarettes would be in the town. But nonetheless, those are some things that are possibilities if you wanted to go that direction.
city taxes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think last year we did it around May. Yeah. Yeah, and I've got Steve checking on some of the requirements around that too. So, with that, Ms. Sherry, would you like him to kind of go through more detail?
Take us on a ride.
Would you start on the expenditure side? So the Board of Supervisors, you pretty much stayed stagnant from fiscal year 23 to 24. The increase that there was there has a lot to do with healthcare. Otherwise, represents as pretty much you guys have remained static. And what appears is that's what it has been historically. On the county administrator side, oh, no, that's okay. On the computer, and the one may I see which one I printed for you? Yes, it does.
That,
Yes. Yep. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I went back and I changed all the numbers to represent. You have OneDrive?
What's he trying to put on the screen?
He wants this,
That put on the.
yeah,
Yeah.
which is in OneDrive.
Let's see what I got here.
You should,
Yeah, I don't know if I've got it set up.
okay. May I keep going until it tries? Yeah? Oh, that's okay.
It's a good question.
Yeah, it was.
Amazing how quickly you can make that change. So this reflects that, that's.
Yes. And this also, because in the past, because the number that you would allow for the premium for every single person, it was the same. It was $596 when I came aboard for everybody. And then when we changed it to the 85% premium for each plan, this also represents what the employees currently have, what plan they currently have, the one of 6 plans, and that number represents what they individually have as the overall premium. So for, there's 2 different in the administrators, there's 2 different, the sheriff office, everybody has anywhere from a high deductible to the plan 500. So everything is changed individually to what they currently have. That number will change if there is a little bit of a ratio that when we go into open enrollment, but it looks like there's a fluctuation of approximately like a 3 to 4% of what it would change overall. So that $30,000 that I mentioned, 36,000, you got a plus or minus
Right.
3%.
Not error rate, that's
Correct.
enrollment rate.
Correct. As well as if there is additional, I believe I know of at least one person, but it's on the DSS, possibly 2. And I think the second person's coming on before the fiscal year ends, that will come on in open enrollment, so that'll be in addition to.
Now, I don't mean to be a stickler. Here you have on the county administrator, if we drop down, just looking at the 2 lines with the hospital plan. Here in the online budget, it's 18,846, and in the packet, it says,
You didn't get an updated paper.
oh, I see.
Eric came by and got
Oh,
one.
okay.
You do not have an updated paper copy,
Okay.
which I can,
Gotcha, yeah, we'll do
Provide
that
you.
later.
yeah,
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
What do you mean the plan's the same?
The hospital plan 54,225 would be what you're recommending. And then that's what's in the paper, unupdated paper. But, all right, let's go on. We're all right, I'll talk to you later. I'll show you what I mean.
On the county administrator side, the increase, obviously with the healthcare, it also has that half additional person. That's part of the salary line. Everything else, but also we took out, and you're gonna see in a couple departments, computer supplies and technical support. Those all have been moved because they were within like 3 or 4 different just for various reasons, and we kind of moved them all into Kevin's. The actual supplies and database and everything that's needed for technical is all in Kevin's budget. Presently, we left the IT payroll budget under county administrator until we kind of move forward and see how it's going to meld. But otherwise, all the IT that Danny and Kevin will be working with that. So there was an increase, but again, that was mainly due to the additional half staff and healthcare. Professional auditors, professional services, more will be revealed, but right now we put it at 65 is the recommendation. Now you notice, Dr. Millsap mentioned the Commissioner of Revenue, so you do see an increase in their, payroll. But if you look overall, they went down approximately 3,300 from this year to last year. So they went up in their payroll, they went down. Concise assessment is no longer, so they lost that from the budget. And, you know, their healthcare, you know, went up a bit, as well as their VRS retirement, due to his new employee, excuse me.
None of these include, do these include the 5%?
No.
No.
That's nowhere
No.
in our side.
And a different breakdown for comp board, for county employees, till it's locked in. I did not want to give a falsified initial document. We start with this and that's how we did it last year. So because I don't know, the skinny budget that has come out is 5%, but there's 3 more budgets. I talked to Dr. Wheeler, you know, Brian, so, and they're still, unfortunately, and it was very similar to last year, it appears, last minute and very aloof on what they're gonna do. They have a 5%, 6%, 7%. They have a 5% with step. They have 5, you know, so they're still all over
Yeah.
the place. The 5. Then the other thing was the 6, because they're looking at cost of living at 5.9% overall. So now they're looking at the 6. So again, it's all over the place.
I have, under Commissioner of Revenue, they have a field assessor for $19,000.
Yes,
And then under assessors, at the bottom of the page is
that's a 4-year cycle.
is it the same?
It's not.
Okay. It's a different,
Yes.
same amount.
Yeah, they have a field assessor, and then they have, remember when Dr. Millsap said next, you know, this year, at the end of this year, the assessor, that's that professional. We carry it every
Right.
single year,
Yeah.
just that it's like a carryover at a
Property.
19,000, just pending, so that's probably.
Is that the only one county paid, doesn't know?
No, every employee is a comp board position in the commissioner. The treasurer has 2
So-
comp, 1 county.
That,
Correct. Yeah. Not at 100%. Not the only, Commissioner of Revenue and Rhonda, Third Court, are 100% employed comp positions, every single one. The sheriff, I could give you that breakdown, and you have the treasurer breakdown. And, excuse me, Commonwealth Attorney is also 100% on full-time staff.
Another question I have. Computer technical support, is that for supporting the Bright system?
You know what, I believe so. I'll get back to you, with you on that one.
And also their computers, they buy new computers every year?
Last year they didn't. I will tell you that the treasurer and the commissioner of revenue probably, first it was, I had the oldest computer that I inherited was the oldest, which was 8 years past its prime, literally. And after that, I believe it rolls down to commissioner of revenue and the treasurer's having the oldest. So the thought pattern was try to Danny
So we're
do
not
his
getting-
magic.
Right, not getting the newest.
Correct.
Every year, just out.
Correct, and starting to
putting around the
replace them
oldest.
as, you know, keep the ones, but replace the
Right.
worst case scenario,
Right.
you know, for that fact.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Oh my goodness gracious. I didn't even know.
You just got beat.
The treasurer's only increase, if I may, sir? The treasurer's only increase really was in, healthcare. And please note, you will see workers' comp insurance. Last budget year, that was one of our biggest,
Right.
increase in the expenditures because of the increase. This year, we remained static. It did not go up at all. So it's at like 0.86, and it remained at 0.86. Last year, I think it went from 0.71 to 0.86, which is a huge incurred cost. Any questions from treasurer?
Sure.
Oh.
$8,000 for tax ticket prep. This is the expense of sending this out for printing rather than printing in-house.
Mm-hmm.
Postage, do we also pay this outsourced printing to do the postage? Because that seems like a
Yes,
lot
and
of
plus
money,
there
so
was an
there's-
increase in postage.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Is this also a shipping and handling fee on the postage, or is it straight postage? It's just postage from the outsource. They're not charging us also to mail the bills.
Correct.
Data processing service, the line charges, is this for the cost of sending the tax ticket stuff to them?
Let me see if she has an explanation. If not, I will find that. That data processing, I'm not sure. I'll check on that as well, okay?
All right, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's good to know.
Yeah, so I don't want to speak out of, so I'd rather check and come back. Okay. Is there any more questions on electoral?
No.
On treasurer? Yeah. Let's see here. Okay, so the electoral board, you see where there is a $10,000 increase from this year to last year. Department head request is almost over almost $30,000, $31,000 increase. I'm gonna bring up her, just so I make sure I have which you all have in your packet.
That's what thing comes in.
Yes, or two screens.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the electoral board officers and clerks, the request is accounting for per precinct in the general and presidential primary, 8 election officers per precinct. So that's the increase there.
That was one of my questions.
Therefore, we recommend paying the central absentee officers for 2 full days of service in addition to working 16 hours on election day.
These are the folks that are.
Election officers attend 3 or more hours of training before each election. We also need 1 trained alternate per precinct to fill in if need and compensate $20 for training if not called to service. Clerk of court fees, the clerk of court fees are $30. That's mandated. So you do in your packet, if you want to see a little bit, there, Amy gave a grid. It's under electoral board folder. The other increase you will see, it says new. It's an election security cyber, and that's the ongoing conversation with getting on their independent server. Kevin, Danny have conversations. I think they were under the concept, and we just got final word. It's going to cost the county approximately $2,500, where initially they thought it would cost $15,000. So that's where you see that big discrepancy in the county administrator to the department head request.
.gov and citizens both are what's helping us out in that.
That's accurate.
Right.
Yes.
I will say during election days, the cap is really, really busy at the courthouse. It is insane how busy it is. And then the next day, um, you know, they're there to make sure that things run smoothly with the counting and I mean, our election workers, they do a lot. Our citizens that show up.
It's,
They're still asking for another body.
That's in the, under the registrar department? Yeah, so when we get
There.
there. Yes.
home worker education training, I take it was combined with one of these locations.
Correct.
She's got it all broken. It's department was.
So, if I may, should I go to the registrar? Okay. So, under the registrar, you see, again, the highest discrepancy would be, three, uh, three full-time people is the request. Presently, there is two, and there's consistently one, if not two, part-time people that work. It used to be like Fran and Donna, now it's Donna and Wanda, and then intermittently, depending on what's going on, they have that's staffing there. Let me just get their request up, please. Okay. So their original request included an additional full-time staff for $39,000, as well as an increase in their part-time staffing hours. The request was for $39,000. Let's see, salaries register last year. The part-time hours were 19,814, and the request is for 33,703.
That's a salary. Right?
It is, it's an hourly. That, well, it's the line item. The full-time is separate. That's correct. So that would also include, it would be 39,000 plus 12, 13, plus about $16,000. So you're looking at 55,000 overall. That is accurate. It would be, and that's at the median healthcare, 7,344,000, and you have your FICA and your ERS, and they would be also be considered a hybrid employee, so you add that amount as well.
Thank you.
I would have to defer to Amy to answer that, but I do know that both part-time individuals that are working consistently are at higher than minimum wage. They're at higher than minimum wage.
Is any of this registrar compensation increase in staff due to the COVID stuff that they're needing? Okay,
No.
needing extra
There's
bodies.
a few different conversations of intent, and again, that would probably be best explained by Amy, but I know the conversations that I have, that I don't wanna speak for Linda, but that Linda has with Breck on the electoral board. One of the things is they want to prepare for future retirement and bring somebody in to be able to replace Phyllis and have that progression, eventually Amy. I did speak to Amy, and I don't believe it will be this, from what she stated, the plan as of that conversation, it doesn't appear it's going to be this fiscal year or next fiscal year. However, things change and I think there is a concern. Amy also stated that there is increased workload, that it would be helpful, and that was really the intent of the additional person. So they would probably be best to clarify that communication because it goes different ways.
They want two people
They want,
trained for the possibility of two leaving.
they want one full-time is the request, a new full-time, one full-time person. And also, the request was to increase the part-time line item. So that's where you see that big discrepancy between this year to last year. Also, please note that you see a 0, I will be collapsing again. That travel mileage, travel, education, meals, lodging, it's going to be 1. And they too, also requesting 2 desktop computers. They are unfortunately, it would probably behoove us to manage these older computers because it's the beginning is
There are so many.
it's bad.
There are
It's
so
bad
many
on
old computers in our
the
county.
and the more
We just we didn't have a plan.
so this is part of it.
Yes,
This is part of making a
exactly.
plan to, start replacing things when, let's get ahead of it instead of reacting to it. So, minimally planning to do worst case scenarios down, and then, as things come, the request could come. Yes, yes, yes.
All of the county's computers are old.
Art, it's Venus.
God, yeah. Right. Yeah, they still have the pigeons flying
Well,
in the window too.
Yeah, the other part is that when you start getting into different applications, they take up more storage, those are not able to handle that, Windows 5. Pigeons flying, yeah, right, so. May I go to the next one? Circuit court will be our next one, you can see a big decrease, that's Rhonda. Rhonda has eliminated from the budget the need for, due to some of the changes that have been completed in the courthouse, they'll be able to eliminate that cost for jury trials and cleaning and stuff, so a good $7,000 decrease.
The repairs and maintenance line item in the circuit court, is that because of the extension of the space, doing drywall and all that
Well,
painting?
No, that was.
we absorbed that, but they're, with the courtroom
Okay.
and things of that nature, when minor repairs are requested or stuff, they absorb as, those kind of things. The general maintenance.
It's just
Thank you.
it's a doubling of the expense.
Mark's budget is more of the bigger projects, the drywalls, the, changing of, that this has always been, and she has managed it
Yeah.
historically very well.
Yeah, but I get what.
Yes,
I'm
it's
just saying,
that
it's
way,
like just
absolutely.
You're
Yeah,
going from 15 to 3, and yeah, it's like, just because you have another courtroom, do you have to have the same amount of doubling? I mean, could it be 1,000 rather than 1,500? I mean,
I would, I would
Question.
probably, we talked about, we kept it there just because of all the change and everything. There's always those things that could come up that would not really qualify to fall under, Mark. So I think this year for a safety net, and especially with regards to, the decrease of, $7,300 in a small budgeted department. You could kind of incur some of that, but it was more of a preventative. And I will say, historically, if Rhonda doesn't need it, she doesn't spend
Yes,
it,
I
or
know.
doesn't request to carry it
Yeah.
over. Correct. That's
Right,
accurate.
She's putting all the files.
So it's a 3 area,
Mhm.
yeah.
But I agree with you, yes, historically,
I-
Rhonda is one of them.
I don't have a problem with that, I just want to make sure that
Mhm.
people know we're looking at all the.
Yes, yes.
The new-
No, absolutely.
Mhm. And so it sounds like,
Yeah.
Mhm. And so we talking about courthouse stuff, I get it.
We were talking about, just one of the partial budgets that come out of Rhonda, kind of going down. Do it.
Well, in terms of courthouse repairs and work over there, I think the fourth thing that is a possibility is I think I mentioned you the possibility of maybe reorienting the building a little bit. I don't know that actually is going to cost a ton of money, but
The front door versus the back.
yeah, so make the primary, essentially keep the building much more secure by having just one public entrance off of the parking lot. Then that's where the metal detector and the deputy would be, and potentially, looking at some security things for employees to come in the side door. The judge mentioned to Mark and I that he was going to put in for a security recommendation that's free. It might take a while for them to get out here, but that they'll come out and kind of give some, well, they're not going to do the work for
Oh,
free,
just
but
an
they'll give us
assessment.
an assessment of what their recommendations might be. So that's also recognized in that. Mm-hmm.
Don't think ever put the courthouse in a no carry a firearm zone.
Mhm.
If you're just having one public entrance, then rather in essence what you're doing, that's what this board would have to do, I
The
believe.
courts already took care of that part, right?
So the courtrooms, the way it's set up.
Courthouse,
I don't know that, we need to check on it.
yeah. I
Okay.
think the courthouse carries a.
Yeah, we'll check on that. And of course, the exits will remain, so we're not gonna take the stairs away or anything on
You can
Main
get
Street,
out.
but you can get out, but it's just, trying to get everybody in through one location. Okay.
I think you really. Venture down the road. They had that.
You got 3 entrances out there. Even though that new street door, and that's a nightmare when you're having a big court and 2 courts especially.
Mhm.
Especially when you got 2 deputies. Yes,
They do a lot of moving around.
they do.
May I? Continue? Okay. The next one is the General District Court, which, was received from Nikki. The 2,700 is a little bit of an increase. That includes all the contracts and maintenance for the copier fax, postage machine, which is about $2,500. So the other part of that would be just office supplies that go along with those things. The request, as you see from 4,700. This includes, and Linda, you may want to add why ours is different. 4,700 includes $3,127.77 for a new desk that would, I believe, match what's currently in there, per her letter, which you all have. Which is a difference of $1,573, which that's the office supply kind of line item. And then, we had put 2,300.
Yeah, so as you know, I have a favorite used furniture store. And, so I have talked to them, and when I was down there, looked at some of the very nice, heavy wood,
Yeah.
old style desk. And so most of those, and they've sent me some pictures too. So they usually have some of those available, and they run between $700 and $800. We would have to pay to get it brought up here. For instance, the stuff we're having brought up this week for the jury room, it's about $550, something like that, for them to bring everything up. But still, even with that, yeah, from Charlotte. But as we do our moves to the other building, there might be some other things that we would make more sense. So that's why we didn't put that big amount of money in there. Yeah, everything. Like I said, they should be here this week. Yeah.
So that would be the difference. So the other additional request is for education.
Is this required education or
The request would pay for educational classes and trainings to further our knowledge of the court system and be able to provide better service to the citizens of Floyd County. So it appears by her statement of her budget that it's additional training and classes, not necessarily required.
continuing education, right?
Correct. Correct, so. Yeah, I would think so too, so I guess we just,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think so. And we'll dive down deeper when we have our discussions too, right? As to whether or not we
Yes.
see other places to cut.
Correct.
So,
Alright.
So may I continue? Okay. County attorney, remains static. We've been able to keep, Linda's been, those bills are requested to review. So we remain pretty much on target with that.
Hey, what way we've been trotting him around, it surprised me we got by a fit.
Oh, Steve.
Yeah.
The next one down is the circuit court clerk, which, oh, my apologies.
We're not moving kids anymore? With juvenile detention?
That, I moved that line item.
Okay.
Because it appeared, what's transpired over this course of the year is, it was duplicated and coded in a different, and I'll show it to you later. So that shows, nothing expended, but I have another line item that shows in the deficit. Correct. Okay. And it's one of those that Linda explained, kind of those cleanup items that I'm trying to do in preparation of the new system. May I? Yeah.
Please.
Circuit court clerk, Rhonda's department remained pretty much static. The increase again was, her, two things went up, was the hospital plan, and then her request, the only request that she had for an increase was to add some additional part-time support, and that was mainly due to reconciling the records and things of that nature. So she's looking for additional support with, let me see, I don't know if she said reconcile. Let me not put words in anybody's.
So is that the compensation extra help line, $5,000 increase?
1,300, yes, compensation extra help.
$5,000
Correct.
increase. And what's that for?
I'm gonna look up what she let me see, hold on, please. Circuit court.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Sorry?
where it'd be nice to have two.
Well, yeah, last year, part of that payment was Dana, but she wanted to ask
Oh,
for,
yeah.
so she used, thank you, Linda. Last year she called Dana back in for assistance, so.
Surprised me, she didn't have part-time help. Just full-time.
Yep. Commonwealth Attorney. Again, asked for a little addition in the part-time labor help. Remained pretty static, other than even with the healthcare pretty much remained the same because the choices of plans did not change that much, so.
We need system. How did he allocate that money? Yeah, we,
Well, that's a comp board, so they don't request it, and we don't, any type of additional county cost for that position is not being used.
yeah,
That's okay, no.
I have Commonwealth attorney compensation,
Uh-huh.
the administrator recommendation. It looks like there's a numbers transposed.
It should be corrected on there, not on paper, but yes, you were correct, but it is corrected. Correct, 271,996.
So that makes the bottom line pretty, a lot closer.
That is correct, it's 386,794. Last year it was 382.
I thought he was being
No.
being generous and cut some salary increase.
No, now, this is also based on, so the other part of, if I may, say something. This is also based on keeping the salaries as they are right now. And I mean, for that second attorney, that has not been in there. So it could be more, it could be less on a salary side, but, so I kept it static, thinking it would remain in that area. No, it has the current salary that is represented for that position. So yes, yes, that is correct. That is correct. I think there was in the beginning, I have not heard, I think when he first left, I haven't heard anything different. I don't know if you have, with regard to replacing the attorney in Eric's office,
Said no.
maybe. Maybe.
Maybe it said no, so, is that position still in it?
She just said that
Yeah.
parking had two seven.
They're gonna replace it either way within this fiscal year. The likelihood is they're going to replace it. They don't replace it, then it'll just fall back into our general fund. Well, a percentage of it, because it's a comp position,
Right.
comp board position. It is still carried, it still shows as an opportunity in the comp board under the Commonwealth. So, I
No,
didn't
my feeling from Eric was that he was not.
it does,
Yeah.
it does.
intending to do it, but I think he's on, see, maybe.
Is it intended to not fill it because of the election or intended not to fill it at all? Okay. Okay. Because the last that I knew, was that everything pretty much remained the same for him, except for that $2,000 increase in part-time. Sure. So there probably might be more will be revealed and I can ask him for increased clarification as we go on.
So, yeah, when he came by and signed, and did that, at one point he was looking to hire someone who would be quite a bit more, and but very experienced. And then when that didn't seem to be panning out, then at that point he started talking like the chairman was talking about maybe not filling it if you couldn't end up with somebody like. But that was kind of just a discussion point.
So
Okay.
I think the thing to do right now would be to leave that salary in the budget until we get confirmation, not pull it out. But we have that ability at a later time to decrease that expenditure. So, the sheriff. Mm-hmm. On who?
Still, I'm up.
Right?
3,000.
The life insurance for 3,000?
DRS. It's got an extra on the paper. Well, we don't have that.
23,112 is the hospital plan. That's your health insurance.
DRS.
It's been corrected, 1469. It's corrected on your, it's updated.
Take out
Right.
Right.
extra digit here.
Yeah, it's already, oh, please. Surprised there's not more. But today's presentation is clean, so. Yeah, no.
It's gonna be the last year of Excel.
Hopefully. I'm hoping. We're pushing for it. So then you have the sheriff, which is up next.
I have a question about the mental health transport.
Mhm.
Is it possible to bill insurance for this transport under?
I don't know if you can bill insurance if it is a sheriff and or law enforcement transport. But I will look into it.
Because that might be potentially worth using our EMS to transport if we can bill and not have the sheriff. I mean,
The
just as a
yeah,
question.
then you're pulling, yeah,
Right.
Security, but.
Yeah.
But if we can, if we're using that
or
officer.
maybe a
anyway,
volunteer
Right.
fire.
Right. If we can recoup some of the transport cost, that would be, it's definitely worth looking at.
Sports. If she's done it, it's usually circumstances that.
Right, but it's the same, if you can put that officer in the rig and then get compensated, it's.
I don't know if they can charge for that.
I don't believe so, but it's not a bad thing to look into, so I can do that.
People don't have insurance.
Never.
Never know. They might have Medicaid.
Compensation.
They might have Medicaid.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that's where it's,
I think it's adding an extra SRO.
No, no, not on that. There is step salaries and increases that I've added because that's a given. The other 5% is not. That's correct. It's step between, yes. You are correct. My apologies. Oh no, that's included. I put the SRO in there. I'm sorry?
You said 13 on there.
What, 13 are under the comp board?
So for the sheriff department, because you have the sheriff department and then you have the court and the dispatchers, right? There are 12 comp board positions and 14 county positions. Just under that heading. The court and dispatchers, which is in your next line item, there's 7 comp and 1 county. That 1 county would be that new dispatch, so I don't know how that'll fall out in the future, but that is a county position.
And then animal control.
Animal control has no comp positions.
So that's in
That's
addition.
3,
That's
the
3.
3 county positions.
But when you, yeah, so yeah, I just want
Yeah.
to make sure we
No,
get,
thank
so
you.
all 3 of those buckets plus
So if
dispatch.
you want a total, it's 19 comp positions, 15, 16, 18 county positions under the 3 departments.
Yeah, and then,
About half and half.
and slightly over, and
19,
then
18.
the, dispatch. That's included. So of all
The
4.
dispatchers fall under the court department.
Right now he's got 37 full-time employees. All of those. Dispatch say falls under the court?
Yeah, if you go to the next,
Okay.
after
We'll
the
get
forestry, it says sheriff, courtroom security, and the dispatchers' salaries are in that.
Also under sheriff and law enforcement,
Mhm.
there's 3 items that are grants.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
We keep those in there because those are a consistent carryover
that's
that
where
comes
we
in.
are matching for the grants. Is that correct?
Not. Domestic violence grant, I don't believe we match. Or the DMV enforcement grant.
So those are still expenses.
Yeah, they're expended out, but it's almost they're a wash coming in on the revenue. Yes, right now, per this budget year, they're at about a 65,000 expense. And that, remember that also was during that high peak. So, it's an increase from fiscal year 22 of still $20,000. But I don't think overall, the county, overall.
Yeah.
I think that Kevin's was probably the pure, his, but overall, and Mark, even the transfer station was pretty, to the budget. There's a little bit over here and one other department that we reduced. That shows where they're at to date and what they're spending on a monthly.
Is that in the current number we have, or
Correct.
current number of the districts? Any addition? Debt service on a radio base station. That's the existing, right? That's not anything that we're getting ready.
No, that'll fall under Kevin. Or Kevin's department.
And on the question about the vehicles, Brian and I talked about this a little bit, and they have interest in purchasing some of their vehicles, but they were working on that grant to see if that could maybe cover it, because that wasn't allowed expense. I did not see the grant before it left, so I'm not sure exactly what they requested, but it was something they were thinking about.
If they purchase require, is that additional vehicles or replacement?
I think it's additional vehicle.
So that won't affect the lease.
Mm-mm. No, the only thing that affects that is we have one that's totaled, but
But
they'll get it replaced.
Yeah,
Mhm.
2007 SUV.
I'm looking at it right now, but it even was generous for forestry services.
Extra dollar.
Okay, you know what, that was so funny that you say that. We can cut it 50 cents, but I will tell you, for the last that I went back for budget, 18 cents in the negative.
That's so funny.
It'll be, I was like, not this year. So I, if you want 50, I'll work with you on that. The dollar. But it's, it was 11,106.18 every single year, so we pay that and I'd be 18 cents in the negative on the line.
And that shows up.
Of course. Is that,
I mean, now speaking of that, okay, that draft can be put in on.
I haven't put it in any folder.
Okay,
I can,
yeah, not now.
yeah, I won't put it in the budget, I guess.
No.
Okay, yeah, I'll figure it out. We'll figure out and I'll send out communication.
Yeah, 'cause
Okay.
I'd rather not have it in a supervisor. Maybe the budget is a good place for.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, I don't know, all right.
Counting the pennies.
Yeah,
Keep up the good work.
thank you.
That's another
18
story here.
cents.
18 cents, yeah.
Should I go before? You see the sheriff courtroom security, you will see an increase, that's for the, one of the reasons is the additional, really the main reason is the additional E911 dispatchers. That falls into this bucket. So with that, you have additional FICA, you have additional retirement, you have additional hospital plan, life insurance, and hybrid.
But all the dispatchers aren't here, right?
No,
Yeah.
they're split into Kevin's. It's actually, it's
Right.
it's a 6 and 5, so that's why you'll see in Kevin's later. Kevin has 5 and Brian's department has 6.
One, they're split though, the one gets attributed to this department.
Oh, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, but you have from this year to last year, you're looking at, so it's about a 40,000, 30-something thousand dollar, $38,000, I think is the request. 38,000. Then then there's some step increases. Oh, thank you. This also includes, if you remember last budget year, the request was for a $6,000 increase for each dispatcher. The discussion was 3,000 this year, 3,000, or 3,000 last year, 3,000 this year. That includes the 3,000 for the existing. And then there's also two people that had a step increase. Thank you.
Maintenance and service contracts, are they buying a new piece of equipment? For the $6,000 increase,
Let me see what he wrote, please.
of course. I'm sorry, I didn't do all my reading.
No,
I didn't know this.
So that is Maintenance and repair for the sheriff, okay, yeah.
6,000?
22,
Okay, okay,
22, 23.
that's 6,000,
Oh, that's right.
okay.
It's still a,
Right. That's fine, it's the same.
yeah, and you'll see when you open up, you'll see the, just, it'll give you, Sheriff Craig was good, it's referencing the new dispatchers, and
Okay,
it gives the code and, you know, the training that's necessary and everything that's involved, which I thought was helpful.
It's like a 5-minute break. 5:50.
All right. Uh-oh.
debate, but
No,
we can move on.
Okay. So, I believe the next, if I may, the next is, building inspections.
Oh, boy.
So as you can see, the difference in the payroll, when Sydney came on, that was an existing, salary base, so there was some lesser money in there, so it kind of evened that out. You also will see there's a decrease in the hospital plan, because one of the individuals is on a spouse's plan elsewhere. So, and yes, that changed. We took out the drug testing line. That will be at will HR administrative decisions only. And also took out the vehicle line, which is in administration. So the minimal, it's just over $1,000, $1,800 decrease, excuse me.
Isn't it more like 3,000?
I'm sorry, 3,000. I don't know why I said
I'm like-
300. Yeah, good, thank you. 3,000, even better, 3,000 less. Thank you.
Maybe it's 2,000.
Right, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I really do appreciate how vehicles are now being, I mean, I understood why they were spread out, but, I mean, it is administrative. Yeah, I mean, it's administrative. I mean, come on.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean.
Thank you.
Travel and convention, they use it every year?
As a matter of fact, yes.
Okay. Just asking.
Probably more this year. Mark's got to do a few more. We're sending Sydney to go this year, and she'll go again next year.
Okay.
She has to do certain certifications for permitting herself,
Gotcha.
and Mark has renew. And you'll see in the maintenance line, you've got Dan who's continuing his journey for certifications as well.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Very good, very good.
Animal control. Pretty flat. You'll see the difference in the payroll. There was just some realignment in staff that changed that overall payroll. Working with Brian, and with that, had changes in hospital plan. So they're just underneath budget from last year.
All right.
It's veterinary, sir.
And that was one of the requests to manage that food wise, veterinary service and all that stuff. Not food wise, I'm sorry. But
That's one thing.
that's not. No, the original budget had a per Dr. Millsap's request in last year's budget, a carryover request to help manage the said cow one-time situation. Hopefully, this does not incur that.
So why are we going up from 35
Yeah, let me
to
bring up his.
63,
Yeah, let me.
28?
Because an increase in charges.
Correct. And I will tell you, historically, that line item at a 2,500, 3,000 they've gone over
Okay.
budget every single year, I believe.
Yeah.
But I know for at least the last 3 years. Sorry.
I said by quite a bit. And,
Yes.
And part of it, as you imagine, is, we have an ever decreasing number of vets.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then if they end up having to take them on the weekend, then they get to go
Emergency.
to
Yeah.
the expensive one in Christiansburg. So, but they were trying to not do that as much as they can.
I missed earlier the 23 request for compensation 133.6. What was the difference now for the 126.8?
Where are you?
Animal
Please?
control.
Oh, animal control.
Yeah.
What was
23
the?
approved to the department request, the difference there.
That's what we approved. She wants them to
I just
be-
wondered the
It
approved
was
was that, but the
a
decrease.
change in staff. So the third that it was approved last year, the original person that was there is no longer. The person that replaced it is at a lesser salary.
No.
Okay, so, emergency services, pretty similar. Now, what you do see towards the bottom, you'll see, for line items, it's 352, I believe, on your Excel. It's 6,002, 6,003, and 6,004 for the account number. That's the movement of the IT that came out of a couple different departments. So we put them all under Kevin, which is really what incurred his difference in cost from fiscal year 23 to 24.
Basically a consolidation.
That is
of the
correct, and
expense.
management.
Mhm.
And the better management for AP purposes, and Kevin's overseeing all of it. With Danny, excuse me, Danny and Kevin, and they're great team working towards that, so. Okay, may I move on? General properties, this includes, where Dan currently is, where you see inspector maintenance, and this also shows the, um, additional staff if approved.
So will maintenance go off of his line? Because he's not really doing much.
He
is
does sporadically, when time allows. I guess that would be a Linda Mark decision. I think if there's no reason why he can't continue if necessary, if it comes.
I mean, how much of his job has been maintenance? How much has been building inspector? Like 85-15?
Probably maybe 80-20.
Okay.
He is out doing more inspections.
Right.
So, but
Since
they're
they get
both
that
he and Mark end up doing maintenance stuff all the time. Because it's only them.
And then with, additional things happening at the courthouse as well as, possible moves, and we have a new building too. So,
So start.
Hasn't been voted on yet. Hasn't been voted on yet.
I'd be preparing numbers
Okay.
somewhere at 20 to 30
okay,
for commercial.
all right.
Hmm.
Want to balance that budget.
Actually, it's mostly capital stuff that has to be done. And we'll avoid, I know the Oxford Street is yet to be that big enough again. Same, but on down.
Like a suggestion on that. Just rip the whole street out, just do everything white.
If we can't do that, if we do that, then VDOT's gonna make us move it out of the street, and then we got a whole nother arm of problem, so we're just repairing place. We'll have a new line eventually, but it's gonna be 20 or 30 feet at a time, if we're lucky. But anyway, just so.
Okay.
throw
Thank
that
you.
on there,
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate
just
that. Thank you.
So you'll know, that's the budget.
Something to be mindful. Okay, sure.
Yeah, I found out when I was going through it, they sent me another copy. It'd been nice if it stopped there, but very valuable.
One of the things I'm gonna try to do, my intent is to remove this debt service and capital outlay by following the code, standards, again, to get us in just a better alignment of what departmental true costs are, and also in preparation for moving to a new system. So a lot of that, debt service, I'm hoping to remove that and create an appropriate account number for future, okay? If you also notice the asterisks next to certain items, I think we'll start getting into them. those are part of those automatic carryover,
Right.
for same purpose,
Mhm.
because they will not be complete, the likelihood that they will be completed this fiscal year is minimal. So we're just gonna carry those costs, that line item over, if you guys approve it, for those same services. The back, yeah, they actually had discussions about it.
BSA does have a camera now, so it might be something going on, possibly.
Yeah, that would, if I might share, that would be really useful. I think their assumption right now is because that was built on essentially a marsh, that it might just be generally, but it could be something else, so that would be good to check. What we talked to them about the other day was because it's built on a marsh, even if we go fix it in a couple more years, we're gonna have to fix it again. So we were talking to them about would they consider leaving here the part that doesn't do that, so the side and all of that asphalt as it is, but at the back part putting something down more like they have at the farmhouse,
Yeah.
which is the gravel with the plastic rings in
The
it.
grids.
So then that helps with just with drainage and all of
It's
that.
more loading parking.
Yeah. And we just have to make sure that we have a strip of asphalt there, because they have to there has to be ADA compliance
Right.
to the back room, but the rest of it they were definitely game for trying that. So Mark and I have talked about that as well.
Biggest cost, I think, 50,000. Take care of it.
22.
We've got to get down into basically is water change channel, so it's the pipe.
I think that's what Mark, or you remember a few years ago, that whole bank was
Yeah.
wood and vegetation up there. They cleaned all that off in the hopes that would help dry that out. Then it worked for a while, but then it's,
Right.
Mark seems to think now that
Yeah.
underground springs is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So if it turns out to not be the pipes, then maybe doing the gravel, and that saves it, so you don't have to do any other work. That's kind of the hope. Maybe big rocks, little rocks. I get it.
So, as we continue, you see some fluctuation in, loan payments. That's as you continue, interest rates, things change. If you see 9170, that loan, that was 2019A, Truist, was paid off in February. So that's a good thing. However, some of the other ones have gone up in plan. Um, the rest, the local health department, mental health service, aging, you have in your packet, it says, outside, I believe,
Outside agencies.
outside agencies, thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
That will show you some of their, reasons for an increase or remaining the same.
Seven, the health department's requesting. That they made here recently. On
And if you see it remain the same.
Mhm.
Was it on average of, what did we say, 7 to 10%
Mhm.
was the kind of asking last percentage increase?
There was a disturbing article about community college across the country, but, you know, it's really good to see our community colleges, at least on this side of the state, doing so well, and I think, again, our ACE program has, and others across this region has helped to that moving in the right direction.
Yeah, there's a chancellor's visit tomorrow, I think, on the calendar.
Nice.
So, yeah, they have the system chancellor coming out and visiting all the sites.
Yeah, I mean, I
So
think
it's
Virginia
10:45
still is in good shape, but nationally, it's a bit of a problem.
Well, no, one of
Our
their,
alma mater had incoming freshmen in, you know, wined and dined and toured and this and that to make sure they come to Virginia Tech. It's getting quite competitive out there in the world of higher ed.
one of the challenges that the Virginia community colleges face, it's a little different than others, is the state doesn't really fund most equipment purchases. So that is unusual, which means then if they want to stand up a health program, a nursing program, they've got to find donors
Yeah.
to do that as opposed to mothers. So that's been part of the challenge even.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Too bad. Yeah. Yeah, I think that, I mean, you should see. It's all over the place.
Okay, for recreation, if I may, there was a quick correction I just made, which was in the group life insurance. I didn't correct Christian Witz, so that has gone down. So the change from 23 to county administrator, in the compensation, when the part-time staff left, you guys approved in a full-time person. The rest of that part-time salary kind of will carry over his present, the rest of the salary. So nothing was adjusted to Jacob's budget for this year for bringing on the full-time. However, once I put his full-time salary and everything else, that's where you see that little bit of an increase in salary. That's why there's a difference. Okay? Does that make sense? And then the hospital plan, last year and prior years, Jacob was the only full-time person who received benefits as far as VRS and health insurance. They're both hybrid disability, and workers' comp has gone up.
So, Linda, your recommendation is substantially less than what was requested and that is what you're explaining to us with the part-time salary still in there?
The part-time salary is still in that 109. There's still room for part-time, especially with vendors and things of that nature. But it doesn't include an additional request.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
yeah,
you.
there was additional requests for employees, and so, I've heard you all, so he would like to do a lot of really good programming, and
Yeah.
that does take
More
additional people.
Understood.
But you just kind of got to get there. So what we have discussed in general there is, he's got this nice advisory committee now, and maybe they can help him start finding more money from other sources.
Okay.
And then if that starts moving, then I felt like you all might be more interested in entertaining something later if there's been some additional effort there. Plus, it's as I mentioned to you all, a couple of these we really narrowed down, even though like what they want to do. So that way, when something particular comes up, hopefully you guys will have some money that if you want to do it in your contingency, you could say,
Yeah.
yes, that would be great. But that, as opposed to just putting more money into various departments, it's more a decision point.
Are there internship programs available from Radford and Tech
I've been,
to utilize for Jacob?
Yeah, there is particularly from Radford. And so at one point he was pursuing some of that.
Tech has a recreation program too.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll continue doing that as well. Thank you for that.
We do.
Yeah, I understand. I understand. There was, I will tell you, one of the other requests that was in there that even though it's near and dear to my heart, I took out, which was any kind of, he put in just about $5,000 in case there was a grant or something that required a match. And so, again, you know, we paid to send him to grant writing, so that was the
Right.
idea, but, you know, again, if we could, once you find something, then we can come back to y'all, or if it's smaller enough, I'll just send y'all a note and say, unless you guys say otherwise,
Well, let's
we'll
think
put
about
it
it.
in.
Let's think about it this way, if contractual services decreases because we're having more mowing done on our own, then there might be some matching money there. I mean, it would have to have a, you know, a movement done, but, I mean,
We've been talking about, I've spoken to John Vest again about maybe going ahead and applying for another one of the forestry grants.
yeah.
So those have a little bit of match, and then we've been working with some landowners as well about trying to maybe open up some spaces that aren't, no offense, Mr. Booth, but aren't just in town.
And I know contractual services are mainly like umpires and stuff.
Mhm.
The other thing you see, if I may, is there's a bunch of account numbers underneath that are in red. Those will be removed, or they'll be inactive, is the term for the system, and that was part of conversations from last fiscal budget. So we're getting rid of the 500, 500, 500, 500, 500, okay, for each, and it rolls up to, you'll see youth sports. So that's why you see that difference. We kind of took all that money and we're putting it in one, and to manage it appropriately as such. And then,
But he'll still keep track of each sports cost.
we are, yes, absolutely, absolutely,
And there is an increase, isn't there?
a little bit. Mm-hmm.
And why is that? Can you
Um,
say?
Part of the increase that I put in was, I would really, now that we have a new name, and I thought it would be nice if we could go ahead and put in for all of our coaches to be able to have a like T-shirt that says, you know, Floyd Parks and Recreation, because they do all this for free, and it'd be nice to say thank you with a little something. It's not too expensive, but if they didn't,
Exactly.
yeah, I thought we'd do that. And when we have a coaches meeting, I'm sure we can find somebody that might give us some biscuits for them, and then we can hand them out their shirts and tell them the rules. For a small fee, Jacob will order us lots of stuff.
And the other increase, if I may, is he's actually increased activities. Because now he's got a taekwondo, or not sorry, MMA. Sorry, Danny. Mr. Olympian, okay. Rude. And other things. He's, you know, doing all the youth events. He's got like the extravaganza, all these things that were not as scheduled and planned.
Yeah, like last summer, I had football and soccer camp, and there were about 47 and 50 in both of those.
Yeah.
So trying to expand that a little bit to some other things. He
You
keeps
have
trying to expand
volleyball?
to some other
Yeah.
ones, but they require transportation, and then that gets it pricey.
Yeah,
So,
We're looking at a $3,250
correct.
in that line.
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to know where the money's going.
And then he wants the senior program and the summer activities, the youth camp. So,
Is senior activities being done in conjunction with social services to get the needs?
I don't
Our
believe
seniors
so.
met?
So that's something we can definitely communicate.
Yeah, we can certainly communicate it. No, it's been mostly, kind of stealing some ideas from Montgomery County and trying to make them more like
Floyd,
senior
right.
games and that
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yes, we'll definitely make that connection as well.
Move on, sir. The library, actually their request for, contribution went down from last year as well as their overall budget.
Is it possible to get some details from the library about actual use of our library? Books checked
I
out,
think we get that.
yeah.
Mhm.
I can see it for the system-wide, but
Mm.
detailed for our library.
Yeah, you'd be amazed at how much that library gets used. It's insane.
And they.
Right, unique users.
Yeah.
Because you got people to check out books and you'll have that same person that's with genealogy and then they may be back involved with the children's program.
Like they come in with their kid,
Yeah.
go to the children's program, but they're actually using, and that's two unique services
Well, I
being
know it's
used.
too unique. I have to get down to the final number or two.
Get what correct.
My
Total usage versus,
my thought process is how much library, true book library use versus community use. To activities, so are we taking up possibly a reduction in book space and more community room space to better utilize
The building.
the building?
Okay.
It's just my,
Mm-hmm.
and the service to the public.
correct.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'll give them credit. They have a lot of activities.
We sure do.
Right, so would
They
we,
really do.
right, so
And
would
creative.
the community be better served with more community room
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
versus book space?
Mm-hmm.
Because you have, I mean, you can order books online to be delivered to the library or through all these locations.
You had to see that bookmobile, something like
Yeah,
that.
isn't that great?
Right.
Yep, great.
But I had. Find back.
Yeah, not that one. I'll get more details for sure.
Picture of the bar, it says, "I wish for the library."
That's cute.
My kids, that's the only way they can get a book,
That's right.
especially during the summer.
Right, but you,
Yeah.
the bookmobile versus
Yeah.
the static library.
And homeschool, too.
They use the library, yeah, with books and stuff.
No, that's something we do, bringing that back.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it helps the permanent locations that are shared.
Yeah.
Some of them are for church and them for
They do.
kids. You wonder where all of them come from.
Yeah.
Kids I didn't know about.
Where'd you come from?
The next is, the local planning commission. That's pretty much fees for mileage and for meetings. See, the regional commission remained the same, so did New River Criminal. Community development, you see the increase in that. This is where from administration to community development, where we're splitting that salary, that
Right.
position. And I also split the FICA, VRS retirement as well.
We also, you'll see there's the two grants listed at the bottom, but with no money.
Mhm.
So we've been trying to anyway, having those variable numbers in there that don't necessarily turn out to be the final numbers tends to screw up our audit, candidly. So until they're absolutely final, and then we'll just bring them to you all for a budget amendment if we need to related to that, but otherwise,
Okay,
that creates these
They're
very,
not- They're not.
no,
They're not on the revenue, so when that does, if I may, when that does occur, whatever is that amount, it'll go revenue, so your bottom line is not going to change, your numbers will increase, decrease, stay the same, or will increase, stay the same, but your bottom. Correct. So you'll see that again, same with economic development. You have, you know, your grant administration, the tobacco grant, and, you know, so that is going to mimic what we were just talking about. Skyline soil remained the same.
I mean, we just blew through community development, didn't we?
I just,
I mean,
Economic development.
It's steep enough.
community,
no, I just said economic development, you'll see those four that are empty, that's the same, otherwise
Right,
everything
right.
remains static.
okay, same with community development,
I'm sorry?
community development.
Yeah, I'm sorry if I wasn't clear, that's the jump was we were splitting that staff position.
Right. Right, I got you. But that's the only reason that thing jumped that much.
That's correct.
Well,
Commerce Park building construction.
Yeah, let's just say about that, let me see.
4, 5, then 0.
What's EDA?
Hey, so what are you thinking this job is gonna pay? What are you looking at for this thing? Oh, no, it doesn't depend. I mean, that's a hefty raise right there in that budget line. What do you think?
we also did a small increase for one of the existing employees. Who,
Well, this is personnel, so we don't.
Yeah,
Talk about it in open session, but we.
so there's two pieces to that. We'll look at that and come up, but, somebody got another offer and we wanted to keep them.
Thank you.
So, may I? Yes?
Where we at? We had 2 conversations.
Yeah. I believe economic development we can push through, that actually went down, and it'll be the same with regards to the grants, it'll go on the revenue side with the expenditure side, once it comes in and we know exactly what we're dealing with. Skyline soil remain the same from,
Jerry had a question on 3.5 and it come down to 20.
Went 0, 0, back up to 21. Third one down, economic.
Building
okay.
construction, Commerce Park, 6087.
Gotcha, let me see what she wrote. I have that. May I get back to you on that? I have it on paper. Get back to you. Okay, thank you.
It's just, you know.
Yeah,
we went
Ladina,
down to 0, 2.
right. And I have your answer on the data from the treasurer. Okay, so,
Yeah, we go in Scott.
okay, which remain the same. And then we're getting into community services programs. The first line on the PSA, they're requesting the same as last year, which would be to not make any payment, defer. And then if you look to all the way to the right, there's a $50,000 in a little box. You see that kind of off to the side?
Where's this for?
Line 540, if you will go all the way to the right. There's a $50,000. It's to the right of fiscal year 21. Does it not show on yours? Okay. I'll make sure. I just wasn't sure
Mine
where
shows up
to.
J,
Oh, column J. Thank you.
but I'm looking at an older version.
Okay. The PSA is also asking that the board put in $50,000 into escrow.
And to, yes, the request is for two different things, you know, the defer forgiveness of their loan payment and then putting $50,000 into essentially an escrow account, and they've asked the same of the town. So when another event happens, that there might be something put aside there. But that's not, we put the 22 in, we didn't put the 50 in at this point. Plus, that was before I knew my bill was going up 30%.
We don't know yet.
We don't know yet.
You don't know yet, that's just propane.
Out of the finance committee, it's gotta come before the board, for the authority.
It'll come next Thursday.
Right, the 13th.
So, you know, another an idea that Kim had, which I thought was pretty smart, is, you know, another option might be to just forgive that 1 year of payment, and instead of putting it at the end, and then that
Or the last 2 years.
for the last the last 2 years, and so then that becomes effectively.
That's what I said.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I suggested. In-house. Great minds.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of putting the 22.6, putting it on the tail end of the loan next year, eliminate last year and this year, but not do the $50,000. They just will not have to pay that back, and then we start the loan off, or whenever you guys want to deem starting the loan, putting it back into place. Nothing really changed big for the first. We are on track. We kept the regional jail. I will get further clarification, but we're pretty much on track to be on budget, if not have a little bit of carryover in that. So,
How'd that happen?
Less people breaking the law?
No,
I was gonna say. That's not it, I know.
is the arts one correct? We have 20 to
Yeah,
50.
that's right. There you go.
Yeah,
We
split it.
split it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, for some reason I don't have access to this, but I have an old one, so it's close enough.
go to the Board of Supervisors budget. That's
This is-
linked. It'll be there.
23 budget.
Fiscal 24.
24.
Yeah, in that, it's under the budget.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Could you,
Oh, change the title. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, I can. Thank you.
so I would
Didn't
go
raise that.
there.
Yeah, my apologies. You do see that Floyd Center for the Arts is something you guys spoke about. So it's split, and you'll see down later the new line item was the June bug. I believe the consensus was to split it for purposes of the grant, right?
And so that grant's been submitted, so we're all good, and they have both been notified.
One of the big request differences from this year to last year, if you look, is 6083, just to make note of it. For future conversation, Fairview Nursing Home. Consistently, it's been like $2,500. They requested $20,000. I didn't.
Floyd people.
You are aware of that personally?
See, well, if you go back and look, I can't remember what they were requesting.
they
For
had,
some reason, I was thinking they were requesting 10,000, we gave them 2,500. But.
well, originally it started off, I kind of gave put in the budget with 5,000, we give them 20. And then they went up to 10, where you left at 25 because our population didn't decrease. But you know yourself, it has.
It has. And even at your 2,500, that's not covered. That one person that's in there.
Just placing the rural farm.
I have no doubt he was passed away.
He was gonna hurt someone. Wasn't a doubt in my mind.
But he seems to be doing well
Oh, he
there,
loves it
where
right
he's
there.
there and loves it there, and it's a good situation. I'm not familiar with too much with the others.
The other one, I talked to his daddy, and he's been helping do maintenance and stuff like that. And he feels like he's belongs somewhere. Linda says that's one that's dear.
Near and
to my
dear.
heart.
Sorry, this is all the electoral board stuff.
Another, not as, well, two other things. The Humane Society, requested 5,000. That's been a difference. Also, SIRCAP came back around. So that was different from last year. Again, you see the new items on the bottom, Junebug. I have to create that account number once it's approved because it is new. And the three next ones were also new requests that we have not received.
Well, we used to get Feeding Southwest Virginia, but we put them out, because we do it through planning now.
Correct, but they didn't put anything in last year,
Right.
so now.
We didn't fund it, but what would this Christie Bird Institute?
That's new this year.
Is that the historic museum?
Yeah.
In the old bank building?
No, that's the Montgomery Museum. Christiansburg Institute is over on Scattergood Drive on the left. That was the African American school. There in Christiansburg, the big brick building on the left as you're heading towards the mall.
It said 125 Arrowhead Trail. Suite F is where the mailing came from.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But the building is.
Yeah.
The building itself, windows are all boarded out.
Was out by
Out by itself.
Community Action is there.
Right, I think I have the extension in your packet because it came over paper, so I'll make sure I upload that. That's the next, unless you want a
What's that?
Virginia Cooperative Extension.
The next.
Compensation.
Mhm.
I'm sure. And step related, or is that percentage related?
I think that's percentage related for people for their, that included that, but I'm gonna verify that, cause like I said, I didn't, cause she was quite thorough with, that was one of the first documentations we got for this budget year.
Right.
So let me revisit that and I will upload it to have that answer, okay?
I think that's right.
Am I gonna move on? Yeah, emergency services. There is a decrease actually in overall payroll. Kevin and I spoke, we kind of like moved it around a little bit better, just by workforce. And workflow, as you can see, it does include the opportunity to hire more full-time staff. But
Who's the part-time staff there now?
because they have a higher influx of part-time staff, and instead of trying to manipulate the system and give them each a line item,
Right.
it becomes a payroll nightmare. Not necessarily payroll nightmare, but
Record keeping night.
correct, record keeping nightmare, plus for them to have clean books.
Right,
Um,
okay.
it just worked out. They've had that in the past. We tried that for one fiscal year. It just, and Dustin, it'll help him reconcile things a little bit better.
Good.
We're on the path for overtime, built-in overtime. This is built in with their 48-hour work week schedules. So, however, with the struggle to find additional full-time people, that has increased. They're incurring some, overtime. So there is opportunity to not have that automatic. If we can, that's correct, yes. Yeah, but however, when we're holding at like 9, I believe, full-time people, it's just not enough to, and like I said, a lot more part-time people, but your part-time people are working once a week, 12-hour shifts and things like that. Still gotta cover another 12 hour, so now you're looking at 20, 30, 50 hours, 80, that's a big chunk.
Well, it's partly salary, and it's just, I think was it Dustin says, we're all fishing in the same pond.
Right,
Mhm.
that's what we said. Well,
Yeah.
it's not so much lack of workforce, it's that you got Montgomery County, you got Pulaski County, you got Radford, the city, Roanoke County, and so they're able to offer more, and
One of the areas. Interject more into their.
Yeah, we kept getting the.
Yeah. Yeah, that didn't go as well with the schools in the end as we had hoped, but I will say
Well, there's
at,
new opportunity for the new superintendent.
yes, and at the community college level, though, I will say Dr. Huber heard all of us, and so there is a new EMS program that they have started at New River Community College.
So that could be an ace kind of, but wouldn't it be great if at the high school level, they already have at least a senior level class?
Is,
That could then,
is
yeah.
this something, is
Introduction.
is basic EMS stuff like CPR stuff that we can work into Jacob's purview through community.
We do have, we do, yeah, we
Yeah.
do have, Rebecca Jackson that does a great job teaching CPR.
So if we can't get it, if we can't get this need filled through the school system, maybe we can pursue it through rec.
Mm-hmm.
We used to do all kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
you know,
That's a good
conversation
idea.
courses,
It is.
do all kind of stuff.
I'm not giving up on school. since we have
No, I'm not either.
superintendent.
Right, but at least
Yeah, I have them
Right.
both. I have no desire not to have both.
Right.
you can do an
If a
EMT
kid
for
get
rec.
hurt, they
Yeah,
can,
absolutely.
they can manage it until the rescue gets there. If you got somebody that's bleeding bad.
Responder base.
We have a defibrillator at the fields in our new building now that we have a new building.
We definitely
We need one.
Yeah, we need one. I think I saw those are
Absolutely.
$2,200. I think I saw.
It does.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Sure, it's at the right desk, Kevin.
I'm walking down the hall. I'm grabbing it, like I say, that thing tells me. You get on the job training.
Yeah, the one at school is the same way, so.
I'm not opposed to helping people, I'm just thinking liability, it's the first flag, it went up, and I think it's. We got to do it second.
Yeah.
I'm stuck in my head.
Battery, you
do it incorrect, it's a better chance that they was,
That's right.
than what they was getting, than what they was gonna get.
Yeah, because they were getting nothing.
That's
Yeah.
the way of looking at it.
There should be one in this building too.
Yeah, it's right in front of me.
We have one here,
Oh, yeah,
and it's just the service.
yeah.
What was going on?
Definitely.
Yes.
Is
I
that,
already just put text somebody.
that's where,
Yeah.
that's where the kid was.
Yeah. We just bought some more, because of that, so I'm wondering if they're right. Yeah, we just put some.
So find them.
Yep.
Absolutely great.
So, may I?
Sorry for that.
That's okay. Environmental fund,
Which really isn't environmental.
Wait a minute, what about?
solid waste. Oh, I'm sorry, fire and
Fire
rescue, fire and rescue.
Decrease.
So, the volunteer fire, asked for a $20,000 increase as well as the rescue squad.
Did we ever get their equipment from rescue?
No.
Volunteer rescue?
No, we did not. They did put in their request, volunteer rescue did put in a request for an ambulance, and that is not included in. Because we didn't get their equipment.
Rescue squad decrease, is that in relation to the number of calls dropping off?
Well, it's, what we put in here is the same that you approved last year.
We put 40.
Oh, 40, that's right, yeah. Yeah, sorry, I've got that one.
That's okay.
Yes, so they have not been filling as much space as they were for us before.
Question,
Mm-hmm.
services, 5230 for the county administrator recommendations, is that just a typo?
5230.
We're back up in emergency medical center.
Oh,
Yeah.
what did I do?
Yeah.
It's been 1,500 consistently, then county administrator was 150. Thought maybe.
Up to zero.
Telephone.
Oh, the telephone.
I think you are accurate. No, I think you're correct. I will fix that right now. Thank you.
We're kind, I think. Chinese error. Some of them.
Just thinking that you said.
Some of the points are 600.
Afraid of pigeons.
50's pretty good.
Yeah, right.
I'll have a more accurate number on the line of duty. I'm just waiting for that last sheet from Baker
Yeah.
to come in, so I know the numbers. So I'll be able to update that. Yeah, but I didn't want to, I don't want to assume, so that will be, more will be revealed once I get the final Baker numbers. 4 for life will be like, 34,000, like 898, which is pretty much planned. So, I'm not sure, that's the approximate, that's what appears that's gonna come in, and plus they have one more this year. We had some challenges with the website, but we got through it. And move on. So, solid waste, transfer station, not recycling. You're gonna see there is some differences. Again, I realigned and put the appropriate staff in the correct categories. You have, the opportunity of, is that right, 7? I just wanna make sure I have that right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so that is accurate. There's 7 full-time and we have 1 part-time, which we removed, it was 8. Okay, so we did remove 1, and got a part-timer, which saved us some money overall.
As I recall, a really good part-timer.
Yes.
Right.
He's a good guy.
Right.
And this also,
But
Uh-huh. Okay. Oh, no.
people in Doug'sboro, they gotta have someplace to put this stuff. You know,
Got
I
it.
think we should send Duxbury a bill.
Right.
You don't see that stuff and things in there where they tore off and things from Galax and then Squirrel Spur, and that's on the other side of the parkway.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, good.
Yep, I put on my list.
Of course, I know we got the 3 new wells down here at the bottom, but you got landfill monitoring only increasing $1,000. 3 new wells, is $1,000 gonna cover that additional cost?
Didn't we have a separate line item for this?
what's that for? I'm sorry.
For the extra cost to the wells? I thought that was one of the
Cost of
three,
the
four.
wells is
Should be 70K.
Okay.
It was 85 last year, you recommended 86, but leaving was $1,000 cover that.
Not sure, so we'll check.
But I mean, it's, the check
Yeah.
We don't do
depends on when we before then.
Okay, we'll check on that. Thank you. Yep.
Got repairs and maintenance line right below it, 125. What all does that entail? Just ballpark, I mean, don't get into.
Let's
Is that
continue with court.
vehicles, drink boxes,
Everything that, it's kind of like county driven, so everything that. Meaning the green boxes countywide, that's how it did come out correctly, sorry.
And I guess when you come back in, you'll get all our grid lines back in. Because it's gonna.
Bless you.
Sorry. Thank you.
I'm sure it actually helps if you outside. I don't just put a ruler down there.
No, it's easier than the paper for sure.
Overall, I'm a little bit worried about you, all you diesel and gas and oil loads. Because, you know, OPEC cut back production yesterday and crude oil shot up $5 a barrel now. So it's gonna just keep going up.
Yeah.
So
Well, the one thing that's saving that line,
Trucks aren't running.
right, I mean, I don't know how else to put it softly. You know, when you're down 3 diesel trucks that eat up, or 6 miles per gallon, you save some fuel. But that's something to keep mindful of that we'll look in as we progress, for sure.
Also. They have to be more installed. I know we may be installed, yes. Especially in the winter time. Into the sites as far as a little bit more gravel for that. Maybe not just filling the hole and having it spun back out over the entire site.
Slaughters I haven't pulled in there for a while, but Buffalo Mountain Road and a couple of places, it's hard to do anything because you got a little bit of patch up here and you got dirt and you got a little patch of pavement. Gravel, when you get them in there, they just disappear somewhere. They get knocked up on the pavement and pavement shoots them out somewhere.
Well, I think to be fair, probably none of those sites, except for the nice one in Indian Valley, was ever really prepped, and so maybe we can start maybe picking one per district and start really trying to double check with the landowners, but make sure that we go back and put, bigger rocks and, some of those kind of things. It's like the one at Franklin Pike is always money.
It's gonna take more than $6,000.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I've got a little question, it's a little off topic, it's a little question. On these dumpster sites, trash sites, I know we always talk about the inmates going to
Mm-hmm.
clean stuff up, but have we ever looked at, or would it be allowed for like a lot of people's getting dished out community service? Would that be an option? Like a teenager get community service, just, I know I had my kid go do it one time. It was through my community.
I mean, it could be an option. However, if you're speaking through the ACE program,
Court order community service.
they do in the transfer station, not necessarily. Yeah, they do come, but they. Go ahead.
So, yeah, we've been getting a little bit more of that, but they're more, apparently, we have recently learned that there's not a ton of structure to that program right now. And we found out because someone had set up their own community service engagement with one of the county offices and got hurt. And so we've had to kind of work through that. But yeah, but that's something that maybe we can schedule a sit down.
Everything
see if we can
worked
get
out
more
well.
schedule. Yeah, it worked out okay. And yeah, Jacob actually asked me about somebody the other day that approached him, and I said, as long as they sign a waiver and get nowhere near children, and if they're going to get anywhere near children, we need to run a criminal background check beforehand. So yes, but that's a good idea. That's a good idea.
But they do work at the transfer station, especially on the recycling side. But from what I understand, they don't go out in the field. So, and I think a lot of times when that happens, if it's either immediate, we're having the drivers, and if not, then it becomes the inmates, because then it's it's supervised. Can I move on? Okay. Well, that's something that was real important to Mark, that wants to prioritize and get that done within this next fiscal year, for sure. And I believe.
Well, he's gonna say that.
Yep.
Before, since DEQ seems to be on the rampage.
It depends.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And probably look at any cost increase involved in that. So, and again, if you see the asterisks, those are those automatic. Recycling, again, you will see a discrepancy in the salary by realigning people. So if you see like the $80,000 that the solid waste went down, that's because they weren't categorized correctly. So solid waste went down 80, but went up in recycling 60. So we're still 20 between the two departments.
Going from 40 to 65, is that reflected in the increase in cost of disposal?
Yes, if you see, yes. Right, I think the disposing cost is the hauling and tipping, which is 675, which went in the transfer station, solid waste department, right? Yeah.
So one of their recommendations would be to look at what we're charging for tires. Cause, and I understand it's $1, which it cost us, that's what we pay to the landfill to take them if they end up going to landfill. So all the rest of the cost is getting eaten. Most places around us are more like $4 or $5.
But there's no, now, if we start charging, this being,
Mhm.
we start charging at the landfill for tires, they're gonna end up in the green boxes.
Oh, we do now.
Yeah.
We're already charging.
Right, but I mean, if we charge more in the green boxes, I know there's a house recently purchased in my district that has several stacks of tires that they've cleaned up. They're on the porch.
Yeah. Yeah, before we have done free Earth Day, and I don't know, consider that we got a lot going on Earth Day already, but you know it's different staff mostly. Right. Yeah.
And our all right, so from
Down, we were talking to one of these outfits that lets them down, takes the wires out and makes the playground stuff. But that all fell through. And I don't know if there's anything out there now or not.
Yeah, we've not had a lot of luck. Mark's done pretty good at being able to find some better metal outlets and those kind of things, but haven't had as much luck on the tires yet. But we'll keep looking.
That's 65,000.
right, don't want to see
You
one.
know how many trips they make on a truck they haul and haul? Is that a tractor trailer or is it a dump truck or?
I don't know.
Well,
I don't know. We'll
something
check.
to look at. We're getting to the point where we're paying 65,000 to dump truck. We've got drivers. We might come to the conclusion that we couldn't be any worse off hauling them ourselves, even if we had to buy a dump truck. Right, you got the rollbacks, so kind of a possibility, I don't know, yeah, but we may have to look at, I mean, that's a lot to haul tires.
It is, but
Well, I know it has to be done.
I mean, they got you between the rock and
We could look into it, how many trips a year are they making for 65,000?
yes, so do we do it? Yeah.
Mhm.
You see,
I know, I see what you're saying.
Mhm. We have to have a truck that works.
Yeah, if we have, we could do it.
well,
And that's the other conundrum, you know, first of all, we have to get our trucks back in line, and even to be able to obtain another truck, unless we're going to, you know, Seattle for a used one. Serious. It's bad.
It take you about 3 or 4 years to keep the maintenance on the vehicle. You could come out with longer, and it's not gonna help you short.
Oh, I don't disagree. I'm just saying even to obtain one, the waiting list and everything that's involved in that, it would take about,
No, it's even used.
it's a struggle.
They're hard to find.
I mean, the game right now, we could spend $9,000 to $12,000 a week, $9,000 to $12,000 a week on renting one.
Nice.
I should tell you.
Right. Bundle. Yeah.
Yeah. Check.
So the yeah, if you can do a contract.
Mhm.
So the budget in this category, 66,192. Obviously, a line item that Jerry was just talking about, and then 15,000 increase. Where was that? In somewhere else. And I guess it's the salary.
tire disposal.
Tire disposal and
The
then
realignment of there's four, now it's four pure.
Right.
It wasn't aligned correctly. So
Right.
transfer station people, they were intermingled, so now I have the four, which average like salary
Right.
is in recycling, and
Right.
now I have all between, well, Roy and Jabe are still
That's right.
at transfer station, which, and then the rest,
And that's 7.
correct, and one part-time. It used to be 8 full-time.
4 full-time.
Correct. Now, also note that in the solid waste management or transfer station, there are more seniority individuals in
Yeah.
that line item, which will increase your VRS. The other 15 was in tire disposal, 34. Line 697, yes, sir.
Who's phone? Is that the phone for hiring somebody?
Correct.
Tire.
Mhm.
Is the thing company that's hauling their trash on their tire?
I don't think so.
Maybe do like check with Terry or some of these other people that got big trucks. That maybe once a month, we'll take one of their trucks and haul them down there and see what they charge us for it.
Mhm.
And you know, some of these, I hate to call them gypsy truckers, but some of these private truckers and stuff, when they got downtime,
Yeah.
we may want
Yeah,
them to make a
right.
little money.
Mhm. Yeah, we'll look
And
into it.
Floyd Press and the finance. We have to do it. I don't know.
Yeah, we could do that. Well, we'd have to put it in the paper, I think, but we could also put it on the website and the full group. Yeah.
They have big tire. Just kidding.
Oh my.
Just kidding.
So there's also go on. Delinquent fund will be so you're not gonna see that anymore. Social services, those are just the two, that presently of what is known. But if you do look at CSA, both of them have gone up. Nothing's final, like the other sheriff and the school. The skinny, that's the, right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, so before anybody loses it, the E911 budget,
Oh yeah, just
E911 budget, we put in on both sides, 1.5, which is the radio tower upgrade, which should happen which we already have our money for, I just have to draw down the money. Just thought I'd say that really quick. So that will be it is not in the present budget. As well, it also includes that this is where that additional dispatcher, one went into the sheriff or that line, and this is where the other one went. So now it's 5 full-time dispatchers. Equipment and software replacement, that has to do with the radio. Okay. I'm not sure. I will have to find that out. Yeah, they're making a thing. Yeah. So, and as you see, this one too has the asterisks. Okay, you each got a copy of what Dr. Wheeler passed out, I gave it to last meeting. This was also verified. I actually pulled these original from the website and then he gave me that, which match up. And that's what they're looking at right now.
There is a decrease in their budget, from the federal funds, state funds, over $2 million, which is, the CARES Act, COVID-19, workforce, all these COVID-related, expended revenue. So they have all this revenue that's no longer coming in, but there's no associated positions, programs. So it would be nice to know, for instance, the COVID-19 public health workforce, which for $110,000 are there positions being eliminated with that lack of revenue?
Gotcha.
From
Okay.
where the alignment is with the revenue decreases in their expenditures, if we could get that.
Well, I think,
So I guess I worded it for myself, note any and all COVID program positions that are being adjusted for the lack of COVID revenue.
okay.
Okay.
So where is our ARPA funds?
Those are currently still separate,
Where are,
so we can.
what do we got? We're gonna need to talk about that too.
Okay, yes.
And I'd like to know, because weren't we gonna use some of the ARPA fund maybe for a building? I know we've talked about canceling here. Yes, I know.
And
Which
then-
one is the sale to the public, and the use of that ARPA money? That didn't involve anything.
No.
yeah. So you still have about half of your funds left,
Which was?
which was 3.1.
3.1.
So there's just a smidge left from the first tranche and then the
Right.
second one. And originally there had been discussion about spending that one item. And now we started talking about two other items instead, big ticket items. So yeah, we can include that as part of the discussion, but at this, we did not put any of the ARPA funds into the budget. Now, that is different than several of our surrounding jurisdictions. They have gone ahead and put the ARPA funds in and put it into salary, and then are pulling it from the bottom. So that's the first money that they spend is the ARPA money on the salary, and then they're taking some of the other money that they originally were going to spend on salary and spending that on other things because they don't have enough shovel-ready projects. We do not have that challenge. So,
Correct.
yes. So that's why they're doing it different. Is there worried?
Foul of?
Yeah.
Bonus. One-time bonuses.
No, this is going straight to the salary line. So say it's $3 million. So they're putting it straight. Yes, so they're basically if you use a $3 million example, they're taking $3 million of ARPA funds, putting it in salary, and then taking $3 million that they would have spent on salary. And
That's
so I won't use the term that we use, but
No.
yeah. But and so that's because they're concerned they won't be able to spend the money by the end of 2024. I feel confident that we have
Well, yeah,
enough
we're gonna be
needs.
able
That's
to
not an issue for us.
They'd given us more, we still could have spent the money.
Right. It was, yeah. But we can get that pulled for you and have for you on Thursday.
Yeah.
Just think that would be an auditor's nightmare.
That's their the auditors are advising people to do that. Because if you are a small enough jurisdiction, then we can go ahead and just put that money into general effectively general government services. If you're bigger, so like Roanoke County got more than $40 million, so they don't fit in that same category. They have to do everything by project. So we've had some discussion with our auditors, because even though we can put it under general revenue replacement, and I did check the general revenue replacement box, I also put in all of our reporting, which I will more do this month. Put in all of our reporting what each of the projects are,
Yeah.
because I felt like that's
Yeah.
more how you guys like to
That's
operate.
how we roll.
Yeah,
we
we'll
want.
be pretty transparent about
Yeah.
it.
I just can't imagine that it's okay with the federal government to put it in salaries. It just seems to,
Number one,
it just seems to defeat the purpose of what they were trying to do to make sure that that funding went to.
Again, it's just mostly the smaller jurisdictions, and they're just saying, yeah, before, you might remember with the CARES money, you had to actually prove that there had been revenue lost to
Mhm.
claim revenue replacement.
Mm-hmm.
And fortunately, we didn't actually lose money from revenue due to COVID. So, yeah. But we can go ahead and pull that and get that together so you can look at that at the same time.
next is contingency. You're gonna continue? Okay. Same dollar amount we put in there as you have planned over the years. Now, the budget stabilization. What that includes is the property tax.
Mhm.
The increase that we've incurred, moving that money into the budget stabilization.
Good.
So it becomes a carryover revenue onto the expenditure side, which would go into the budget stabilization.
And that's the excess that we.
That is
recover.
accurate,
Mm-hmm.
correct.
From, yeah, our personal property tax.
And that whole thing is, not only good planning and, start planning for the future, it's the highest attempt to avoid any increased, tax increase.
So I think that's what we had said last year.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So,
Yeah.
unused carryover funds plus 851, 190.
So there's 351,119 potential unused funds in this fiscal year that were already set for, i.e. the library, the roof, the floor, transfer station, things of that nature that, had to be put to secondary, that'll go into the next fiscal year, that we're just gonna carry that money over. The
300,000.
total $351,119. So plus you take the 10, at this time, 500,000 excess, which makes it $851,119
Gotcha.
that would be carried over.
Then you move the 525 stabilization.
That is accurate.
So at this point,
Because you have to show it I'm sorry,
no,
you have to show it. So it's already in a revenue, with some money left over, but you have to show it on the expenditure side, because we will be taking it and putting it in the stabilization fund. And we already had from last year, if you see $20,505, we will keep that there, add the additional 500, which would be $520,505.
So we gotta figure out.
Yes. We took the excess, put it into stabilization. Then the 851 is funds we just keep setting aside for projects.
Including the personal property tax.
part of it,
Right.
Okay.
it's about half of the personal property tax.
That's correct.
But the other half is in the stabilization.
One half is on the revenue, will remain on the revenue side, and the other half is planned or budgeted to come over to the stabilization side.
So basically, at this point, we're running over, our expenses are over income. but because of
Over
the,
revenue.
over revenue, sorry.
Okay, that's okay.
Because of, but because of the excess personal property tax collections, we have it covered partially this year.
That is accurate.
Right.
So unless there are budget cuts next year,
Mhm.
there's going to be tax, potentially.
Well, that you still
covered
have,
next
yeah,
year.
there's still some opportunity in that revenue
Ye-
line
Yes.
to continue, but
Yeah.
one of the, if I may,
Mhm.
one of the things, we spoke about, because this budget does not represent any mandates from the state
Mhm.
coming down. So we still have some revenue that can be pulled over that could maybe absorb that without having to, go too deep in other cuts.
Right.
So, to
Is that
Ms. Bechtel's point, I think, with the exception of the personal property tax on vehicles, all of your other revenue sources are essentially flat.
Static.
They are static, and so
Or
when
small decline.
small, yeah. And so that's the challenge, right? Because there's increasing costs like the health insurance. Even if we didn't do anything different with staffing, there would still be increasing costs. And unlike other nearby jurisdictions, we do not have a corresponding increase on the revenue side. Like, Montgomery County is showing a 17% increase in their sales tax. You can guess where some of that's coming from. All the people that work that direction and are buying more things that way. And so
Because
that's,
they're not available.
yes. So that's what I was trying to communicate and what I wrote is that really is our longer term challenge in my opinion.
We do have a very limited base for revenue sources
Yes.
in the county.
It's about 3,000.
Yeah.
Last year, but
Yep, 329, 976. Yeah, almost exact. Very close to it.
So 2 cents a little bit. 2 cents. Which has been
Is that-
kind of
has
where
that
you
been
guys
the
have been
average?
for several years.
Some years we managed to get below that. Well, I still say we go home, sharpen our pencils, figure out if they can get us a highlighter. And,
I'll make you copies.
yes,
Please.
please, before we leave. And then, I don't know. I mean,
Get the Band-Aids out for the bleeding.
I don't know.
There's opportunity, but more will be revealed once we get more
I know.
what's going to be dictated by the
But I've
state.
never, the state ever counted on. Giving us enough.
No, I'm saying worst case, I'm
I
more
know.
looking at reacting to let's say a 5%, that's what we're talking about, and then coming in at 6 or 7. Whole different world, whole different ballgame.
But you don't even have the 5% in here.
What I can tell you is we're looking at approximately, let's say, $285,000. Entire county.
That brings us out to 614,976
maybe.
the negative.
If you did everyone in the county and everyone who is paid on coin, but we still contribute all of that together. So that's kind of why we were bringing your attention to some of the coin ones. Some of those are pretty heavily subsidized in addition to that.
Exactly.
Not 285, but that's up to us. Who we want to give raises to and who we don't.
Well, I can tell you that if you, what is your question? Comport people get 5%. All Comport people would cost the county about $110,000. If you pull out the county, it's every department. If you're not a Comport position, pull those out. 5% would be 172,000. 4% would be 138,000, and 3% would be 103,000.
We have to do what the state.
That's county only. 5% for state or comp board positions will cost the board, no matter what, at 5%, $109,468. That's right. That's why there's three right now that I know of, you know, three. What I'm reflecting and talking about is the skinny budget. That's how they're saying it. Then there's again, it's a 5, 6, 7% is what they're tallying back and forth. And in those three, there's, okay, well, 5, but then we're gonna do this, and okay, 6, but then we're not gonna do this, and all that, and it's all
Yeah, I
over the
know, I got
place.
to.
I'm just giving you rough figures, just dirty,
know.
5, you know what I mean? You have comp board positions or departments that have both.
So I think it's safe to say that we're probably looking at being close to $550,000 in cases, possibly.
You're talking without considering what we're carrying over and the revenue.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
just
asking
yeah,
what you're looking
right,
at.
right. Just looking at, forget about the other stuff.
Yes.
Just
Yes.
what we're in the hole. I understand that you got that money there, and that's all well and good, but
Well,
it's like you said,
You've got-
this year it's here, but next year it's not.
Right.
And so we gotta think about it from the long haul.
That's okay.
the carryover. Is that mandatory carryover or is that combination? Is that?
This is,
No,
no, that's
You might as
okay.
well.
This is how, like, and I might not be explaining it or saying it correctly, how I look at it and what reflected from last year. Pure carryover of things such as the library, parking lot. Those like stable, those are planned, have been allotted either this year or last year.
So
that we're
part of
just
that's
carrying
already
over.
in.
It's already in the expenditure lines, absolutely, but we're gonna carry that over automatically, from this year to last year, which takes out that unknown. We know that we've already budgeted $168,000, you know what I mean? That's correct, that is accurate, for the library, for the floors. Yes, it doesn't reflect any. Right. So if county admin, wants money to go back, it doesn't reflect any of those, any departmental unused funds that were budgeted this year. Those were like kind of fixed.
Yeah, and that's part of why this year we took a lot of money off of departmental requests that in previous years wasn't necessarily taken. To help with a little bit more control for you.
But they got stuff
Right.
that's involved,
Right.
you've already done that.
Yeah, appreciate all your work, really do, because that's usually what we did. So appreciate that very much. We're at a good start.
Good foundation.
Yeah, we have a good foundation.
Blood has already been let.
They just don't know.
Yeah, they do.
They're learning now they do. Yeah, but it kind of goes back to if we somehow over time, obviously can't fix this in a year or two, but the weak sales tax revenue is really hitting it. It's really hurting, and it's forcing you to potentially make more cuts to a level of service that people seem to want, or come back to your property tax. And I know that's not high on anybody's priority, so that gets back to how can we start pushing those other numbers on voluntary purchases. So that's kind of where I'm trying to look at.
It's so much of it is the sales tax. That the base is not here in Floyd County and people are shopping elsewhere. Out of necessity, not choice.
Earl Patrick Montgomery, who is enjoying all our.
Yes.
Yeah, but I don't know how you change it. I don't know how you change it. I mean, even,
Plus, when I leave my house, I'm doing that, and it was like.
The way to change it, we probably don't want.
No,
Right.
people don't understand. You don't want a Walmart.
It's me. 20 minutes from back.
Maybe a
I
traffic.
know,
I could be in a school,
Yeah,
15 minutes.
yes,
and not
right,
able
I have to get it out.
store,
yeah, you do.
or, you know, and so you can't blame the people for taking it out, you know, but we just gotta figure out some way. You know. But I
Well,
would
that's
do.
the thing, when you're raising the fees, and the most of those fees are the people are paying.
And the sim taxes, I mean, I don't see them as being.
Well, part of how you can start looking at your sales tax is trying to find maybe shifting your economic development strategy just so it's right now it's been focused on job. But that's not necessarily I mean it's right everybody's got workforce problems, so
But, so you put somebody in Floyd County who then goes to Montgomery to
Right.
shop.
so
Well,
Yeah.
Been real
close.
close.
30 minutes.
Yeah, I'll make that motion. Jerry seconded?
okay. On the motion to adjourn, Ms. Kickenbook,
Yes.
Mr. Booth, Ms. Bechtel,
Yes.
Mr. Cox, and Mr. Terman. Thank you.
And you'll print those?
Just want
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
and I can give you guys. Hold on,
later.
guys. Wait, guys. Annie?
Okay. We're adjourned, so we can't do nothing anyway.
All hard copies.
Yeah, who is right?
Ask Steve if he could maybe get here about 12:30, so we can. Steve, if maybe he could come by about 12:30 or so, so we have a little time. Just us before we go over there.
Everyone else did.
There.